So glad that we could have this chance to get to know each other a little bit better and talk a little bit.
I'm very happy to be here too. Thank you.
What's your favorite thing about 6th grade?
If I were to pick a favorite, it'd be reading or writing because I really enjoy writing. It's very therapeutic.
Therapeutic, that's an interesting word since one of the things we wanted to talk about was suffering. I've been coming to the Azure Hills Church since 1995, I think. My children were in tiny tots when we first came, and now they're in their mid-30s. I chose to become a doctor of grown-ups, so it's an internal medicine doctor, and so that was my career. I worked in the field of medicine. I'm now retired and able to spend some time working at the church as an elder, so I was delighted to have the chance to speak with you today and get to know you better. Tell me what questions are burning a hole in your heart about suffering.
My questions about suffering are, how can a loving father allow his children to suffer?
Because I'm a doctor, I'm going to talk about it in terms of being sick. Okay, when we're sick, it takes time to get well, right? Have you ever been really sick and you were utterly miserable and suffering from being sick? Could you get well right away? No. As much as your mom loved you, could she make you get better right away? Could she prevent you from getting sick altogether? No, we can't. Sometimes God, who's our parent, is in that same situation. As a doctor, I've actually had to hurt people or make them more sick in order to get them well in the end. When I prescribe chemotherapy to people with cancer, they feel worse, right? It's a process getting well, right? When sin happened and evil came into existence, I think that God knew that it would make us sick. It was like we were all deathly sick, and because of this, his kids were going to suffer. And why does he allow it? Well, I think he knew that if he prevented sin and prevented suffering and the consequences of sin in the end, it would hurt us worse. It would circumvent our free will. And the big questions about what kind of God God is wouldn't have gotten answered for the whole universe. I think he doesn't like it when he sees his kids suffering any more than your mom probably hates it when you're sick, right? A loving God is going through the process with us. And that is sometimes the only answer I can hold out because it sucks to suffer. Do you think God is to blame for our suffering, Mimi?
It wasn't God's intention for us at all. He wanted us to live with him in heaven and we all live in peace and harmony. That's what the original plot was. But because sin entered the world, now the world is broken because sin.
That's very, very wise understanding on your part. Do you think God suffers?
He suffers when we suffer. God is our creator. We're like his children. It hurts a parent to see their child hurt. It hurts you to see someone you love deeply hurt. And God loves us deeply, so it really hurts him when he sees us hurt. And he suffers when we suffer and when we don't listen to him.
That is so true. Do you think you've caused your mom ever to suffer by not listening to her?
Yes.
I did when I was your age too. The grief we can cause our folks, right? And then so if we're God's kids, I think it's the same thing too. He not only suffers when we're in pain, he suffers when we reject him. I'm sure that hurts.
Why do some people suffer more than others?
I think life is just life. Here in the United States, we suffer far less than people in other countries, but people who are in the middle of a natural disaster suffer more than people who aren't. I don't know that there's any answer to the unfairness of life. What I do know is that I have experienced God in the midst of what some people could say was unfair suffering. I don't know you know my story very well, but my husband was hit by a car driver. He was riding a bicycle and he broke his neck and became a quadriplegic. That wasn't fair. And I suffered watching him suffer. So I know that if I suffered so deeply watching him in pain, that God must suffer that kind of suffering when I, his daughter, suffer too. That circles back to your own understanding of yes, I believe God suffers with us and because of us. And there's some unfairness to it. But you know what? The Old Testament has lots of conversations about how God is going to be a judge, who's our advocate, who's going to give us a settlement, if you would, to more than make up for all the suffering we endured here on this earth. And in the next life, in eternity, it will be like we never suffered, because he's going to pay back so much more than what we ever endured, that it will be like nothing. And that's exciting me, that God is so big and he's so gracious that he can overwhelm us with blessings that make everything we suffer here on earth like nothing. And so the suffering of someone compared to what God gives us, doesn't matter. That's what I think is the important thing. What helps you when you're suffering?
My mom is also always like there for me. So when I'm feeling like sad or suffering or stressed, I'll go to her and talk to her about it. Then she'll like give me like advice or like talk to me about it on like how I can manage my feelings and stuff. And also she'll pray with me. I know God is with me. I can do this.
What you're telling me acts like God, in the same way God comforts us, she comforts you. That is so cool. Isn't that why he made families, so we could be there for each other and grow with each other? That's just a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that, Mimi.
What can we do to alleviate the suffering of the world?
There are no easy answers. It's been, like I said at the beginning, one of the big questions in life. If God is all-powerful and all good and terrible things happen, those three things can't be reconciled. And this author, a theologian, Frederick Buechner, in a book called Wishful Thinking, he talks about evil, and his conclusion is something that's really helped me. He says, Christianity ultimately offers no theoretical solution to the problem of evil and suffering. It merely points to the cross and says that, practically speaking, there is no evil so dark and so obscene, not even this, but that God can turn it to good. And I think that he's going to use the suffering you've endured in life to turn it to good too.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Mimi. Thank you for sharing your faith and your picture of God. It's beautiful. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.